Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. We are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday service, and I would like to call your attention to the following. If you are new to our congregation and curious about Unitarian Universalism, you are welcome to join Reverend Walter after the service today to consider what our faith entails and how your own spiritual path may align. Grab a cup of coffee and head down to the minister's office about 15 minutes after the service. It's down the hall there. Our annual meeting will take place on Sunday, April 27th, right after the service. All are welcome to attend, but only members are eligible to vote. If you are unable to attend and need a proxy vote form, they are in the lobby. Please place all forms in our administrator's mailbox or in the white box in the copy room. If you would like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik, our membership coordinator.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everyone. And I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors that we have here today. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to some folks that came in the last minute, but I hope to talk to you after the service. And I gave some of you folks the UU Curious Coffee with the Minister slip that Tim talked about. And I just want to elaborate on that just a little bit in that if you already attended and you're relatively new here and you already attended Coffee with the Minister, this one's going in a little more depth. So you're welcome to come back again and catch another one today. So I hope to further greet some of you after the service.
Can I ask y'all to do me a favor real quick? Can I just get you to look around the room? Look at each other. I was telling Tim this. Y'all are beautiful. You're welcome. All of y'all. I think of all the stuff that's going on right now. And I'm sure, does anybody have a little bit of a heavy heart? Like maybe every evening around 7 o'clock for some reason. And yet, you take time out of your week, a Sunday morning, especially one that looks like this, to sit with other people and to find the beauty that is right next to you. To be reminded that this world is more than just all of the plagues, but that there is something wonderful underneath it all. I don't know what it is this morning. Something got into me, but I just want to let you all know I love y'all. I don't know what it is today, but I got so many smiles and I've heard so many heartbreaks. And it makes me feel good to know that this community exists for each other. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning here as opposed to in your pajamas. And for those of you who are joining us online in your pajamas, thank you for taking the time to do that as well. Everybody wave, right, to the smart people who are having coffee in bed. Thank you for coming together. Thank you for the love and support that this community offers each other. Thank you for bringing your whole selves. Please join us now in a time of worship.
Our chalice lighting this morning is Thirsting for Restorative Justice by Reverend Rebecca Savage. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people, united in love, and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideals. Let us now rise and body our spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Answering the Call of Love. The music can be found in the Teal Hymnal, number 1014.
Good morning. Oh, that's not right. I'm not doing the time for all ages. Many of you may have heard Kelly Chandler got COVID. All is right. Just a reminder that that thing is still out there and to be careful. And as always, if you're not feeling 100%, be smart and watch in your pajamas. We love you in your pajamas, watching from afar and keeping safe. But that means we have an opportunity to have a very special guest host. Nancy Hurt, will you please come and do our Time for All Ages?
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and participate in the story?
We're going to need a microphone.
Oh, yes, I forgot that. I think that would be fine, but let me get, oh, he just asked me first. Shucks. Hey, ladies, how are you? Okay, I need another prop. All righty. I have to sit here. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
All right. Since Hawthorne asked first, would you take a peek what's in the Wonder Box? We're going to call that a goblet, okay? For today's story, may I? Yeah, may I have it, please? Yeah. Okay. So, part of the story, we're going to set an extra place at the Seder dinner for Elijah. So for the story, we're going to have a seat for Elijah and a goblet that they traditionally share wine in. So we're going to I have a connection, so keep Jet Pig, okay? But it's at the very end of the story, sorry. So this story is about Passover, and part of Passover is a festive dinner called Seder. So this is my word bank. The teacher and me had to give you guys a word bank in case you're wondering what we're talking about. And we borrow this story from the Jewish traditions. So they have a little different celebration for Easter than we do. So it's called Grandmother's Lesson. And they put like a modern twist on a very old story. So you've heard this before, but this is a little newer with Kelly's touch on it. Once upon a time, there lived a brother and sister, Leah and Sam, about your age. They were Jewish, and Passover was their favorite holiday because there is just so much they needed to do. The day before Seder, the big festival dinner, they would sweep the house clean of all the breadcrumbs, help set the table with special Passover dishes, and put extra chair and a cup for Elijah, their prophet. Then on the evening of Passover, the relatives would come and the Seder would begin after sunset. One year, they came to a place near the end of the Seder where their father poured wine into Elijah's goblet. Again, part of the tradition. And the children were asked to go and open the door for him. And this was one of their favorite parts of the Seder celebration because it was so mysterious. They looked up and down the street and they didn't see anyone except the children next door who just moved in. They had moved from Haiti. Are you familiar? Go ahead, Sebastian. A place from Greece? Okay, well, it's more I think in the Caribbean. But yeah, it's an island and it's far away from the United States. So they had just moved and playing in their yard, but no Elijah. Leah came back to the table feeling kind of sad and said, "Where is Elijah? Every year we pour wine, we set a place, we open the door, and he never comes. What's he look like? Will he ever come to Passover?" Well, her parents looked at grandmother, and grandmother told the story. "I have seen him, though I didn't realize it at first," grandmother began. "Elijah comes in many disguises. I saw him long ago when I was about your age. One day it was cold before Passover, and I was minding my younger brothers and sisters as my mother was resting from all the preparations for Passover. There was a knock on the door, and I opened it, and I saw a beggar man with a ratty bag on his back, and his shoes had holes in them. And he said, 'May I come in and sit by your fire? I am cold and I am so hungry.' I knew that we were not a wealthy family," grandmother said. "My parents worked hard and still we barely had enough for a simple meal, let alone this Passover festival. So we have nothing extra for you," I said, and I shut the door. I peeked out the window and saw that the beggar walked to our neighbors. Well, our neighbors had even less than us, for the father had passed away recently, and the mother worked very hard, taking in sewing, and she had many mouths to feed. and I was certain she would send the beggar away, as I did. But I saw her open the door, and she invited him in. The next day, my mother was cooking our Passover meal, and I was setting the table, when suddenly a cry came from the kitchen, and Mama's yelling, and the dog had grabbed their chicken, and in his excitement knocked their raisin apple pudding over. And when Father got home, he found all of us sitting there crying. We had no time and no money to get another chicken and prepare it, to get more ingredients for the pudding for our Passover. And we were still crying when there was a knock on the door, and it was our poor neighbor. She smiled and said, "It seems that misfortune has come to you. I don't have much, as you know, but somehow my flour made extra matzo balls, and somehow my kettle of soup is full to the brim." The parents thanked her and promised to bring what food the dog hadn't destroyed over and to join her. After our neighbor was gone, my mother asked me, "Who knocked on that door while I was resting yesterday?" And I said it was a beggar. I told him we didn't have enough, and I sent him away. "Where did he go? Did you notice?" "Oh, yes, he went to the neighbor's and she let him in." My parents looked at each other and said, "Do you know who that beggar was?" "No." It was Elijah, the prophet, in a disguise. He comes to see if we're helping to make the world a better place. We had a wonderful Passover with our neighbors. We found that when we shared from our kitchen, there was plenty for all. And when it came to the part in the Seder where my father poured wine into Elijah's goblet, I asked if I could go and open the door for Elijah. And my parents smiled. Grandmother finished her story by saying, "I didn't see Elijah again, but ever since then, I treat everyone as if they were Elijah, and I find that there is always enough." When Grandmother was finished, Sam asked, "What do you mean, treat everyone like Elijah, Grandmother?" Grandmother answered with a question. "What was the last kind and welcoming thing you did for someone?" And Sam said he helped his teacher, and Leah said she invited the new girl to play with her at recess. And Grandmother asked him, "Well, how did that make you feel?" And it was like it made him feel good and warm and happy, things like that. Well, that's how it feels to treat everyone like Elijah. So Leah jumped up suddenly, and I said, "I think Elijah would like us to invite the neighbors to celebrate Passover with us. Can I invite him, Mom? Can I invite him, Dad?" Mother and Father looked at each other, but the new neighbors weren't Jewish. And they had recently moved to their neighborhood from Haiti. So they thought, you know what, this is exactly the spirit of welcoming that Elijah taught. And they said, "Yes, you go and tell them that we would like them to join our Seder meal. They will find our door open." It seemed that Elijah did visit that Passover day after all. Do one of you have jet pig? Do you remember some of the new values? And can we say what G is? That's generosity, yeah. So Elijah the prophet, would like us to be generous with what we have and to share. That's the end of the story. One other thing, we're all going to meet as a group today. So you're going to go to the big room at the end of the hallway, okay? All right? And the adults will help sing us out. And thank you, everyone who joined up here. I appreciate that greatly.
Please join me now in spirit of meditation and prayer. I encourage you to put your feet on the floor. Relax into your seat. Take a deep breath. And as you let it out, just relax. Find the place, tension in your body, and breathe into it. And let it go. I encourage you, especially on this bright, beautiful day, to gaze out that window. To look at those trees that still are just a little barren, but carry hope. Carry a ton of hope. Our story brought a very interesting question. When was the last time you were kind to someone? I want you to think of that moment. When was the last time you gave kindness? It can be small. Maybe you smiled at the cashier who looked like they were having a crummy day. Maybe you saw someone today who you knew needed a hug, and you gave one freely. Maybe you let somebody pass in front of you as you drove up here. What was an act of kindness? And where did it come from? What stirred you to be kind? Sometimes that's just who we are. Then I want you to think, when was the last time you received an act of kindness? Is it harder to think of that? Is it maybe a little bit more difficult to spot? Sometimes we forget that other people can be kind. And sometimes all we need to do is just to notice it. Friends, there is always kindness. Sometime in the simple presence of a friend. Sometimes in a day where the clouds break is an act of kindness. Sometimes someone just sitting next to you is enough. I encourage you in these days to always be on the lookout for kindness. And if you don't find any, I'm going to suggest you honor the words of the prophet Miley Cyrus. You can buy yourself flowers. You can be kind to yourself. Because sometimes that is what is needed. Be good to each other. Love each other well. May it be so. Each week when we come into this building, I like to think of it as a reset for our hearts. And often we come in with the weight of our worlds on our shoulders. A lot of us have so many things going on in our lives that are a lot. friends in hard times, ourselves in our own hard times, the loss of a loved one, or just life being hard. If there is something that weighs on your heart today, a sorrow that you brought in here, I encourage you now, as we sing Spirit of Life, to come up and grab one of our stones and place that sorrow on the stone. Put it in the water. The water represents our community, letting us share in your sorrow and lessen its impact. And if you have a joy, something that brightens your step, we are here to receive it and would love to celebrate it with you. Place that joy on the stone, put it in the water, and let that joy ripple out to us all. Sue Gross from our lay pastoral care team is here. If you need to talk to someone, Sue is a wonderful, non-judgmental, compassionate presence and would love to set up a time to meet with you if you need to talk. And I too, if you would like to meet, I would love to listen. And if you want to make an appointment with me, let me know when you come up. See me after service. Come, participate in our joys and sorrows ritual as we sing Spirit of Life. Spirit.
Our faith is centered on the belief that we can make this world a better place for all who dwell in it. In order to realize that vision, we need both the motivation and the means. Your donation helps the community put its faith into action by supporting our program and facilities. This morning and throughout the month of April, donations that are not designated for another purpose will be split with the Trinity UCC breakfast program. Trinity UCC provides a free hot breakfast Monday through Friday. For those who are watching online or who do not carry cash, you can donate on our website by scanning the QR code in the order of service and on the screen. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received.
Join me now in our unison dedication of the offering. The words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Today's reading is from Paul Hawken. When asked if I am pessimistic or optimistic about the future, my answer is always the same. If you look at the science about what is happening on Earth and aren't pessimistic, you don't understand data. But if you meet the people who are working to restore this Earth and the lives of the poor, and you aren't optimistic, you haven't got a pulse. What I see everywhere in the world are ordinary people willing to confront despair, power, and incalculable odds in order to restore some semblance of grace, justice, and beauty to this world.
This is the time of year of high holy days. For those of you unaware, Ramadan, the Islamic ritual of fasting, concluded with Eid al-Fitr at the end of March. Spring equinox, March 20th, which some pagan communities celebrate as Ostara, which is a time of renewal. Next week, there's another holiday some of you may have heard of. It's called Easter. It marks the resurrection of Jesus as the Lord in the Christian tradition. Much like in Ostara, it is also a time of renewal. And then there was last night. Last night marked the start of the Jewish celebration of Passover, celebration of the liberation of the Jewish people. I am sure some of you are very familiar with the story of Passover. How many of you are really familiar with Passover story? Okay, all right. How many of you are, okay, I know that there was a big body of water at some point in time. All right. So, to keep us all on the same page, I am going to retell the Passover story in my own not quite elegant style. So, this is my stripped down version of the Passover story. And the Passover story starts with Moses. Moses, as a baby, was apparently put in a basket and floated down the river. He was the child of 2 Israelites in Egypt. Who catches Moses down the river? The daughter of the Pharaoh, and she names him Moses because it means from the water. She raises Moses up. He's in the Egyptian community, but he also understands that he is an Israelite. He knows his identity. One day, Moses sees an Egyptian beating an Israelite. And what does Moses do? He kills him. Moses don't play. Moses kills this guy. How do you think Pharaoh feels about this? Oh, not good. What does Moses do? Goes into hiding. He runs away. While he is in hiding, God decides to speak to Moses. How does God speak to Moses? Burning bush. We all know about the burning bush, right? And Moses is told by God, go to Pharaoh. Tell him to let my people go. Okay. So Moses does. He goes to Pharaoh, he gets an audience with Pharaoh, and he says, let my people go. And Pharaoh, of course, says, no. Moses goes back to God. So what am I supposed to do now? And God says, all right, so we're gonna show Pharaoh our power, and we're going to turn the river into blood. God turns the river into blood. Moses goes to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, I got 3 magicians who can do the exact same thing. You're not impressing me. You're not impressing me with this. All right? Moses goes back to God. Blood didn't work. God's like, I got this one. Frogs. We're going to send frogs. We're going to just make it rain down frogs. And they do. Frogs come. Pharaoh goes up. Pharaoh calls for Moses. He's like, can you do me a favor and get rid of the frogs? And what does Moses say? Let my people go. Pharaoh's like, sure. As soon as the frogs are gone. Oh, somebody knows what's happening. God makes the frogs go away. Moses is like, so we're just going to check out now. We're going to leave. And Pharaoh's like, you know what? I kind of changed my mind. You got to stay. And this whole dance of a plague, Pharaoh asking Moses to get rid of the plague, Moses asking God to get rid of the plague, and then Pharaoh changing his mind, happens 7 more times. You think Moses would get a little wise about this? Who knows what those plagues were? Okay, I got locusts in there. I'm hearing some. We did the river of blood already. That was number 1. Blood and frogs were number 1. What? Famine. Right. We got lice, flies, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness. as the next plagues that come up in order. Can you imagine going through 7 of those plagues? Just think about that. Not just as the Egyptians, but the Israelites are living there as well. Think of all of the hardship they are going through while they are trying to get free, having to live in that place. All of the extra work in order to try to get free and all of the hardships they have to endure during that process. Everybody knows the last plague. Basically, God says, this one's going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the firstborn all across the land, even the cattle, all of them. So Moses, I need you to get your people ready. And what you're going to do is when you do your sacrificial lambs and get ready for your feasts, I want you to take some of that blood, put it on the doorposts. And that way, when the angel of death comes, they will pass over your door. Now, Moses knows that when this happens, there's a really good chance Pharaoh is going to be a little extra angry. And so instead of doing the whole, we're going to ask Pharaoh to let my people go, Moses says, just get ready to go real quick. And on midnight, when all of the firstborn are murdered, Moses gets his people. He's like, we have got to leave now. Grab your stuff. If you've got some cattle, bring it with you. Grab the bread. The bread's not finished rising. I don't care. Bring it. We need to leave now. And that's what they do. Pharaoh's in a rage because he lost his firstborn. And he decides, we are going after the Israelites, and we are not trying to enslave them. We are going to eliminate them. He sends 600 chariots and his armies after Moses and the 600,000 Israelites, I believe, who were fleeing. It's a lot. And of course, what happens? As they're fleeing, they come across a very large obstacle. The Red Sea. Depends on the book. Okay. As I said, stripped down version. We're getting to the Red Sea here, because that's the one that gets all of the big shots in the movies, right? Gets to the Red Sea. Moses is like, well, now what? God sends an angel. We're going to part the Red Sea. Get to the other side. All right. Pharaoh's right behind, right? So the Israelites get to the other side, and as soon as they get to the other side, what happens? Pool's closed, folks. Swallowed up Pharaoh's army. 600 chariots. And thus we have the story of the Exodus. Each year, during Seder, a much more elegant version of this story is told. The eating of the matzah, the bitter herbs, they are there to remind those who are partaking of the feast of those hardships that they have endured, to remind them of what happened, of fleeing Pharaoh. And the celebration doesn't focus solely on the hardships. They also drink wine. 4 glasses of wine at dinner. Man, I get one and I'm asleep. 4 glasses of wine or grape juice as they tell the story to celebrate their newfound freedom, to remind them that with hardship there is also joy. And this is one of the things that I think the Jewish tradition does absolutely beautifully. There is a deep recognition of hardship and an understanding of what they have endured as a people for ages. They understand suffering is a part of life, and they do not let it be their solely defining feature. they are reminded to always bring joy with recognition, to remind themselves that there is more to life. One of my favorite parts from the very end of the telling of the Exodus story. Is there a tambourine over here? Can I borrow that tambourine? You know where I'm going with this, Ivy? Maybe a little bit. When the river, the Red Sea, is parted, do you know what the Israelites do? They party. They sing and they dance. Exodus chapter 15, verses 20 and 21. And then the prophet Miriam, yay, lady prophets, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand. And all of the women went out after her with tambourines, singing and dancing. Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he has thrown from the sea. We made it. Good on us. Celebrate. I need to give this back. I don't know if you need this for the next song, but take the time to celebrate. One of the most beautiful and amazing aspects that we have as Unitarian Universalists is that our faith is a living tradition. We know what that means, right? Okay, do we need more coffee? Living tradition. We are always learning and discovering new ways to encounter the divine and the sacred, right? Transcendentalism, that's like homegrown UU living tradition, right there. This allows us to embrace a myriad of belief systems, pluralism. Yes? Yes. And part of the living tradition is to be open to the beauty of all of the lessons of all of the faiths, even those that have been firmly established for millennia. There is beauty there. We are not, as a faith, Jewish. We have Unitarian Universalists who embrace their Jewish heritage fully. We have people who identify as Unitarian Universalists who are also devout and practicing Jews. As a denomination, we are not solely Jewish. And the pluralistic part of our faith allows us to recognize the beauty that lies within the Jewish tradition and seeing that this story has something to offer us as Unitarian Universalists. And right now, I think the story of Passover is very, very important for how it relates to the world we're living in now, and the stories and lessons of liberation, humility, and celebration. Resilience. God, don't we need resilience right now? Don't we need resilience right now? I keep thinking, while I was writing this sermon, 10 plagues. Doesn't it feel like we've had 10 plagues in the last 70 days? 10 plagues. To be resilient of all of that. To be able to find strength and hold on. I keep thinking of the Israelites going through that. Can you imagine some of them going to Moses and saying, do we need to go through all 10 of these plagues to get to the promised land? Can we skip a few? My kids are sore from the boils. I don't have food because of the famine. And I'm still enslaved. Why am I going through all of this? Can you imagine? Would you have faith in Moses in that moment as an Israelite? I'd be really hard-pressed. Think of the resilience that took to understand that this is a long, long, long process. But think of the reading, what Tim read before. what I see everywhere in the world are ordinary people willing to confront despair, power, and incalculable odds in order to restore some semblance of grace, justice, and beauty in this world. It resonates for so many of us right now, witnessing injustices. And I'm sure we had the Israelites going through those same feelings 10 times as much in their moment. Moses, how much longer do we have to endure this injustice? And Moses, with a lot of help from God and a lot of trying over and over again and failing, kept trying to do something about this. Moses kept speaking truth to power, no matter how many times he got turned away, demanding over and over and over again, let my people go. That's what we need to remember what faith is for. That's part of our role as Unitarian Universalists. Our faith calls us to speak truth to power, justice. We as UUs understand interdependence. We are all connected. We are all family. And so when we see members of our human family, members of our people, being taken away for speaking out against the government and put in secret prisons, when we hear about funding being pulled from the least among us, keeping poverty down, when we see people being denied the medical care they need to live into their identities, we need to be the ones who say, let my people go. When I was reading up, refreshing my memory of Passover, I go to this website, Chabad.org. Jewish Hebrew one website that is really good for telling all of us goyim what's going on. And on their page on Passover, they have this paragraph, why Passover is important. And what stunned me was that it was only 5 sentences long. I would think that this would be a little bit lengthy, but maybe that's my Unitarian Universalism telling me I need to be verbose when simplicity works. Here's what it says. Passover, celebrating the greatest series of miracles ever experienced in history, is a time to reach above nature to the miraculous. But how are miracles achieved? Let's take our cue from the matzah. Like it is flat and unflavored, it embodies humility. Through ridding ourselves through inflated egos, we are able to tap into the miraculous well of divine energy we all have within our souls. Humility. Do we need a miracle right now, folks? Bert, you said it. Amen. We need a miracle. Which one of y'all is Superman? Or Wonder Woman? I'll even take Daredevil at this point in time. Which one of you can do this alone? Which one of you has the superpower to make the world a better place? Even Moses got a lot of help from God and his brother Aaron. One of the things we have to remember is we do not perform miracles alone. We need all the help we can get, and that means working with as many people as possible. And sometimes that means your idea isn't the one we go with. Sometimes that means putting aside your personal pride for the greater good. Anybody really good at that? Because I know I struggle with it sometimes. I'm willing to bet a lot of us do. But that's what we have to remember. It's not about us. It's about the people. And this is one of the most important things I want us to remember when it comes to Passover. It's that tambourine. We need to celebrate. We need to celebrate every small victory because it's exhausting if you don't. If you don't recharge with a little bit of joy for every small victory. How many of you were bolstered after the rally, 2 weeks ago in the square? Man, the energy y'all had when you came in here, it was like you had 3 cups of espresso. It was amazing. It felt good. We need to remember that if we don't take time to find the joy amongst all of the hardships, because you remember when Miriam had that tambourine out and was singing with all of her other lady prophets, what was coming up next? 40 years in the desert. I have to imagine that moment of celebration went a long way to feed them for that journey, and that they took opportunities in those 40 years in the desert to celebrate, to remind themselves of why they do this work, to keep bolstering them. Life will have pain. That doesn't mean we get to ignore joy. It means we look for it even harder. May it be so. We got a long way to go. I am hoping we are not spending 40 years in the desert. But it might be. But all I know is we just have to go one more step in order to get through this. One step at a time. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, One More Step. One more step.
We will take one more step till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word. We will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word.
I'm giving you homework. I'm giving you homework. I want you to look for one moment of joy in the next week. And here's the clue. Here's the gist. If you don't find one by Friday, you need to make one. You need to make one. Whether it's buying yourself flowers, taking yourself somewhere special, calling that person who lifts your spirits, whatever it is. We are in a time where we're going to be wandering the desert. There's a lot of hardship. Life does that. Make time to find the joy. That's where resilience is created. You are a beautiful group of people. Love yourselves. May it be so.